Thanks for joining me, Gemini. This is your first reading for 2022. We're doing like just a free flow today. Get a few cards, fourth card for moving forward, and then we'll go through and clarify. So thanks for joining me. Thank you for your likes, shares, and subscribes. I do really appreciate it. It really keeps me going. So let's see, Gemini, what's happening? What do we got? Okay, they just sort of fell out. Here we are, face down. Well, coming in with you. Oh my goodness. Look, there's real personalities happening around you, or you're kind of expressing yourself in a few different ways, of which, you know, as a generalization, Geminis can do here. We come out with the Queen of Swords, which is literally you, Gemini. You know, in one way. This discerning, clear character takes no prisoners, really. We see the head, you know, in this card, she obviously, the Queen of Swords, sits up very high with a very cute, clear vantage point on, you know, what is going on around. Though she's not that interested in that, she is more just straight down the line kind of scenario here. Whether that's, you know, a challenge for some Geminis, it probably is, because there's a lot of information floating around at the moment. The next card we have here is a Princess of Cups. I think we're oscillating here between this dreamy Neptunian princess, you know, full of imagination, full of inspiration, just, you know, feeling that sea, and how easily it can be to be swept away by it. It's a beautiful card of the muse, really, of an artistic, creative muse. Princess of Cups. So we have best of both worlds, maybe. Maybe we're oscillating between the two. Maybe we're having a little bit of a struggle between those two, Gemini. And then we have another queen. So we've got that Neptunian princess in between the two queens of will and mental acumen. With the Queen of Wands, one of my favourite cards, actually, the Queen of Wands. The leopard in this card represents, sits there as her familiar, as a cat would, you know, the familiar. Reminds her of the hurdles overcome to reach that throne, and very will-centered and driven. Can be a little bit ego driven, as we all are. That allows us to survive to a certain degree in this world. We do like to be aware of our of our ego, of course. I do see it as being sort of a little bit like, okay, so we've got force of will, Gemini. We've got a very active sort of mental capacity, which is not, it is not, it does not qualify in, you know, actual intelligence, like, or intellect. You know what I mean? Like, I think there's a slight disconnection here with the emotional body at the moment. Anyway, we'll go through and clarify, Gemini, and then we have the Eon moving forward. Now, this in the Thoth deck is the Judgment card. When all birds come to roost, moving forward. Sounds a little bit ominous, but it's not. Judgment. There is a need here, I think, to balance these characters out within yourself, if that's the case. Of course, if there are people in your life that you're dealing with, then you'll know that. And remember, these readings are incredibly general. There's a need to, allow that, allow that Princess Muse to come in here. Because I do get the sense that these two are pretty hard nuts. We need a little bit of, we need to allow a little bit of flow, a little bit of softness here. Maybe that's a current challenge for us, or a possible lesson. Who would know, Gemini? So let's just go through and clarify. The Queen of Swords for Geminis, please. For Geminis, please. The Queen of Swords, a wonderful character. But I guess in saying, a wonderful character, yes, to be very clear and concise and to see all aspects of any given situation in itself can be quite burdensome. We get the Ten of Wands. I think there's a need to just lighten up a bit here. The Ten of Wands is the end of a cycle. Every coin has two sides, does it not? And I guess the key is balance, is always balance. We're always trying to achieve a level of balance. So I think, the Ten of Wands is something that we basically release. We have to, because it's just too much to carry. So release it in order to get on with the new, with something new. This wand situation. So we have two other cards coming out. We're looking at, I wasn't really looking at the princess. I was just shuffling. Get rid of these wands. It's a burden that needs to be allowed to be freed. We have the card of the Eight of Swords coming up here, and with the Sun. Look, I think there's, in my mind, for some out there has been a period of quite intense limitations, self-limitations. It's not external. Don't get the personal mixed up with the external world, we have our own domain that we have authority over in our personal life. And, often we see all of that if we're not too careful here. If we're not too careful, we just see what we want to see, right? We see whatever, we fixate on whatever in the outside world that makes sense to us, because that's where we're at in our inside world. This is what I'm getting from this. So it's quite interesting. But self-limitation, cast that aside. It goes with that. As soon as that's released, we are able to understand that those mental, just psychological mind chatter and limitation is really an illusion here. We're not tied up. We're actually quite free to do whatever we want. It's illusionary enjoyment. The key is a bit of vitality and laughter and enjoyment here to get things back on track, to get the balance back. Okay, let's look at the Princess. They just popped out anyway, randomly. Let's look at the Princess of Cups, because it's very dreamy, very dreamy. In this lies, look, in this direction lies something very fruitful for you. And in fact, this is what Judgment at the end with the Eon is all about, Gemini. I say that because for this Princess of Cups, saying, well, embody this, understand your emotional body here, allow this to come through a little bit more. This is the key. We don't need to be swept away. I say that because we get the Six of Wands here. To clarify this Princess, this is a victory for us. For those that live in their head, it is a victory to be able to allow that, you know, to be on it a little bit more with our emotional ebbs and flows, and not to overlook it or marginalize it or undermine it. There's a key to this, and here we have Judgment. Victory and Judgment is centered around that Princess of Cups. And it's totally about balance. Let's have a look at the Queen of Wands, this fiery queen. Yep, can get us often what we need if we jump up and down and make a lot of noise, but I think there are better ways. Queen of Wands, very driven, which is a good thing. I think there is a key here to allowing a bit of emotional honesty to come through. I'm talking generally here. This is just what I'm getting from this layout. Because with that Queen of Wands, we get firstly the Ace of Pentacles, a doorway, a new... this is abundance in all forms, of course. But we need to be prepared to walk through that doorway. We've got nothing to lose. And the Six of Discs, a card of basically of generosity, and knowing that what you give out comes back to you, but one doesn't do it in a way that is loaded with obligation, ownership, that kind of thing. You know what I mean? So it's really quite lovely. We've got Judgment twice. There is something about this, you know, Judgment, past, present, and future combined to allow us this kind of, you know, clip of film to go past, and we think, it is a time of review. It is a year, you know, this is the end of a year, beginning of a new year. We've all been reviewing, deciding what we want to carry on through into this new cycle, because it is a new, in relation to, you know, Venus star point. And of course, I just have snippets of this information. You can learn more about it on, you know, books, whatever. But this is the beginning of an 8-year cycle, is it not? Venus star point. Interesting to think what you were doing 8 years ago, or where you were at. Anyway, let's look at Judgment. Yeah, this pretty full on with the it's like what is it? The birds come home to rest. The crows are there for the counting. What I don't know. There's a saying. There's a lot of sayings, I guess. We get the King. We're bookended in this reading. The King of Swords and the Queen of Swords. You know, we wield that sword with a large level of wisdom, but I do get the sense that to relinquish a little bit of that rigidity, actually, Gemini. Just kind of strange saying that for an air sign. It's so mutable, but the rigidity allow the, let's see what the pixies and fairies have to say anyway. I'm going on a bit, rambling on. Pixie and fairy, Brian Frouds. We get the magician coming out twice. Look, we can see what's going on. We see what's going on in the world. We see what goes on in our own life, in our small sphere. That is what we have authority over. This is that old gnome, which in effect is the magician. And it's kind of like, well, someone's watching you. I do get that. Someone's watching you, Gemini. Let's see. Just one more card, Pixie and Fairies. Yeah, maybe you don't like the I don't know, maybe you don't like the, what's the word? God. Scrutiny. Here we have the Hobjob. This is like, this is sort of a card of unnecessary anxiety, unnecessary worry, just like the Nine of Swords is, unnecessary sort of catastrophizing. It's okay. It's okay. So that was this is interesting reading. We've got a journey map and a Kim Cran's beautiful animal card face down. So let's pull them up and see if they relate. Wow, to this reading. In some way, we have the maiden, this belligerent prepubescent that accepts the changing, the necessary change, the cycle of change. This is an organic alteration of natural law, which we surrender to here, is what I'm getting. We surrender to it. And it's sort of like feel it. There's a quiet anticipation and a knowing, but also not really knowing what this new sort of transfiguration will bring. It is a card of, prepubescent card, but we go through that many times in life. We are in this place, which is a really calm, quiet, contemplative place. We go through this many times. We can allow it. We allow it. In this zone, it's more that it's organically happening. It's just like the seasons change. We have no real control over that, We go with it. Ebbs and flows of our emotional body changes. For more balance, well, I guess we need to be aware of that, There's too much. I think there's a directive here to get some balance happening. We have the Fire Ant card, and really to me it's about agitation of the mind. It's about not being able to stop thinking, having all these ideas going around and around in a circle, in a loop. It's fine, get those ideas out on paper, but this sort of anxious overload of information, Gemini, I do see that as an irritation for you, even if it's coming from other people or from what you're seeing, the information you're accessing. There's a need to come back here to a sort of emotional center to cool things down. I mean, this Princess of Cups really cools this card down. That's what I have for you, Gemini. Thanks for joining me. I hope you got something out of it. And take good care, and we'll see you next time. Ka kite, bye. Cheery.